Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gerard Farrell and I would like to welcome you along to this webinar this morning. I am a Senior Client Advisor with Global Reviews, and this morning we're going to be talking about the home and motor insurance industry in the UK. As with these webinars, we typically leave questions until the end, so if you have questions, please make a note of them and I will leave a couple of minutes at the end to answer any questions that anybody might have. And then also, if you have comments that you would like to send in during the actual webinar, there is a message function within GoToMeeting and you'll be able to send messages to me and I'll pick them up at the end as well. So I'm going to get straight into it. Thank you very much again for coming along this morning. As I mentioned, this webinar this morning specifically relates to the UK industry, so we'll be covering data which was recently completed or has recently come in to me from 2015. So we're looking at two different studies here. We're looking at the home insurance market, which was research which was completed in March, and we have the motor insurance market, which is research which was completed in February. So very recent data. I will talk about the methodology during this webinar this morning. This webinar will be 30 minutes in length. But I'm going to start off with some top-line figures just to get straight into the data and to give us the reason why we're here and why this data is important and also why it's interesting. So we will cover questions with regards to the methodology, but if you can bear with me, we'll get straight into the data and start looking at some very interesting results. So the first thing then is we have looked at lots of different brands within both of these industries in the UK, and so the slide in front of you at the moment is really to indicate that this is a very large and robust study. In each of these studies we have circa 300 in-market consumers who have participated in the study, and so while this is the Digital Sales Effectiveness program, which is not quantitative in nature, we do have in and around quantitative sizes in samples. But I will talk a little bit more about the methodology, but it is important to mention that these are very robust studies. We have a huge amount of brands included, and we are asking in-market consumers to participate in tasks on the websites of these brands in front of you. So we have data on all of these different brands, which is a key message. So let's get straight into it. I went straight into the data, and one of the things that I really wanted to look at was, rather than looking at the total sample of the people who participated in the study, if you remember I said that they are in market, which means that they are in the market to buy a product in this industry within the next 90 days, but in market can be a different type of consumer. You can be a consumer who's coming to the market who's never had a product in this industry before, or you could be somebody who's an incumbent. You already have a product in the industry, but you're looking to switch. It may be that you're looking for a better price, or you're disappointed by your current provider. It's coming around to that annual renewal period, and you're trying to decide and make up your mind what you're going to do. That is the audience that I really wanted to look at very quickly when I was looking at this study, the switchers. What are the switchers saying is most important to them when it comes to choosing an insurance provider in each one of these industries within the UK? I think that there's some interesting things that we can find out about that. The switchers are obviously a subsection of the whole entire audience within each of these studies, and for each one of them they're in and around 40% of the total study. So for switchers of home insurance, what is it that they say are the most important elements for them when it comes to choosing a home insurance provider? In terms of their website, what are the elements that are most important? And we can see here I have highlighted the top 8 things for home insurance switchers, and that is from a list of around 15 to 16 options. So we can see information that is easy to understand, a website that is easy to navigate, detailed and complete information, ability to compare insurance options. I'm going to stop there. They are the top 5. If we look at the switchers of the motor insurance on the other side, we can see that there are some comparisons. Information that is easy to understand coming in with a comparative score and also in first place, detailed and complete information in second place for those who are switchers of motor insurance, which is different because it's third place for those of home insurance. But after the second place, it's really where things change dramatically between these two different industries. For switchers of motor insurance, they're looking for the ability to apply online. That is their third option. But if we look at apply online in terms of the switchers of home insurance, we can see that it's much further down the list. So a website that is easy to navigate comes in fourth place for switchers of motor insurance, whereas it is second place for switchers of home insurance. So there are differences between these audiences, which is something that we would expect because the products are slightly different, the pathway to purchase is slightly different. But what is interesting is the hierarchy with regards to the importance of the website, the importance of information, how detailed that information needs to be, and the level of support that we provide to customers as they're looking to purchase from you online. So what we are here to talk about this morning is the Digital Sales Effectiveness Program. And the Digital Sales Effectiveness Program really is to understand how easy is it for customers to buy from you on your website. And that's what we're going to be going through. So to talk a little bit about the methodology and the proprietary thinking that is behind what we do in Global Reviews, the end-to-end funnel that we use when it comes to measuring the customer experience starts with what we call the discover phase. We then move into the consider and act phase. The discover phase is part of a different program, which I won't be talking about this morning, which is the Digital Marketing Effectiveness Program. But I will be talking about the consider and the act phase, which is the sales effectiveness program that I've alluded to already and essentially measures how effectively do you engage customers and help them to match their needs when it comes to shopping on your website. So really we are at the doorstep of the website all the way through to the end of the application phase, and we look at multiple different websites within the market, and we send customers to each of the different competitors in the market and we benchmark performance. We take price out of the equation. So it is with price taken out of the equation and everything else being equal, how do the different providers perform in terms of meeting customer needs and matching their expectations against their experience, I really should say. So that is the consider and act phase. That is what we're going to be talking about this morning. To go through the actual methodology and where the different data streams are coming from, it's important to just highlight the different types of methodology, because it's a mixed methodology, it's a robust methodology within the Digital Sales Effectiveness Program, and there really are 4 different data streams. The first one is customer behavior, where we recruit users to conduct remote usability testing in terms of on the actual providers' websites themselves. What we're measuring here is success rates, efficiencies, paths through the site. We also then conduct customer attitude surveying, where we're looking at what their level of satisfaction is when it comes to having completed a task, or what was their expectation prior to completing a task, and what is their opinion, what is the voice of the customer in terms of having gone through this process. The customer then conducts an audit where they rate navigability, look and feel, and content, and we're trying to understand really how do the customers feel the site is performing, but we also understand the process or the step that they are in that journey through the actual pathway on the website. How does that specific element perform in terms of what the customer is trying to achieve at that very moment, which is very important, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Another element then, or the 4th element here, is a best practice audit. So Global Reviews was founded in 2000, and for the last 15 years we have been leading around the globe in terms of measuring customer experience. We have developed a robust best practice audit with over 650 different criteria, which measures what really best practice looks like, and when it is delivered, how do the different brands perform in different industries against each other. And so internally, with our team of experts, we audit the websites on the basis of best practice. So all of these elements are brought together. I mentioned that we understand the process, and when a customer moves from one stage to a next on the actual website, what are they trying to achieve? What are the key steps? What are the really important ones, and what ones are more supporting steps? The idea being that there should be a weighting on the basis of what the customer is actually trying to achieve as they move through that journey. And so there is a weighting applied to the results that come in and in terms of what the customer is trying to achieve. So while all of the results are combined together into a customer journey, it's also mapped on top of what the actual customer is trying to achieve. We then pull all of these results together into the final results. We give one top level score, which is the digital customer experience score, and that is really a benchmark dashboard score at the very, very top level for senior management, where they're able to see my score is X in comparison to my competitor that is Y. Now, one really important thing to mention is that the people that we would recruit for a website may be between 20 and 50, and that group of people will only conduct research on one website. So we will not be moving, people won't be conducting research on more than one website, so it really is a very robust study. And as I mentioned already, those customers are in market, so they're looking to purchase a product within the next 90 days. So this Digital Customer Experience Index is a dashboard score, but really we peel back the layers of the onion in order to be able to get down to a very diagnostic level to establish what it is that's driving that top level score. And so the different layers of that onion are, the top level we have the phase, which we talked about, the consider and the act phase already. We then have the stage, which is underneath the phase, which is at that particular stage in the journey, what are they trying to achieve? Introducing product options is an example of a stage. Initial engagements is another example of a stage. They have just reached the website. It's the first thing that they see. Underneath the stage, we have the category. So for an example would be understanding fees and charges, and then within the subcategory we have, or within underneath category, we have subcategory. And that is made up of the different elements that we already discussed with regards to the 4 different data streams. All of these results are rolled up, and that's what gives us the Digital Customer Experience Index. So I'm going to give you an example straight away. This is from the home insurance research that was conducted recently, and these are the scores from the different providers within the industry. And so we can see that John Lewis Insurance is at the top and Tesco Bank is at the bottom. But because we're actually running this data over time longitudinally, I'm also able to look at some of the scores from a previous study to the current study to see how are the sites improving. And then with the different metrics that we have within the study, I'm able to actually go in and see the reasons why certain scores may have increased or certain scores have decreased. So what we can see between when this study was conducted last at the end of 2014 and this most recent study, LV has increased by a percentage difference of 9.3. Aviva has decreased by a percentage difference of 5.5, and Halifax has also decreased. So some interesting things there with regards to A, who are the top providers and performers, and then how are the different scores changing over time. So that is an example of how the Digital Customer Experience Index works. I mentioned the concept of stages already, and we mentioned the concept of introducing product options. These are the different stages that make up the home insurance Digital Sales Effectiveness Program and the motor insurance Digital Sales Effectiveness Program. There are 6 stages, and they are broken into the consider phase and the act phase. The consider phase takes up the first 4 stages, and the act is the last 2. So, just to give you an indication of the categories and the subcategories within the consider and the act, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I do want to kind of indicate the level of data and detail that we go into. So initial engagements is website meets expectation and builds trust, assists the needs of the customer. The idea is that a person has learned something about you before they have reached your website. You have been telling them something about yourself. They have a perception in their mind of what they should expect. And so as they reach their website, how does the website then reaffirm that message, and how does the brand communicate itself to a customer now that they have reached the website for the first time and are looking for a product because they are in market? So that is the value proposition. That is the build trust. And then we move into more specific. They're now actually looking for a product, so we're locating the product range. We're talking about the quote tool, and then we're moving into matching products to needs and then comparing the product options for evaluating options. So we have internal comparison within facilitating decisions. We have contacting the company and why choose this provider. And then there are further elements within the act phase, and the act phase really is they are now trying to actually complete the application process and go through the form. So we're looking for form support. We're looking at our channel support in terms of if they're completing it on a mobile phone, because we have a mobile sales effectiveness program as well, do we do a good job in supporting the concept of why they should complete the process on a mobile phone as opposed to a desktop? So lots of different things in there and lots of food for thought. Okay, so let's get straight into the data. And one of the first things that I wanted to look at was, in terms of the different stages that I've highlighted already, how have the 2 different industries performed against each other? So we can see that the motor insurance is in green and the home insurance is in black. And overall, in many cases the scores are very close. But what we can see is in evaluating options, there is a big difference there between the home insurance and the motor insurance, with the home insurance scoring significantly lower. Now, if you can bear with me 2 seconds, I'm going to show you something which is a little bit more complex, which is I've taken the results from the previous study and the results from the current study, and I've looked at a percentage index of how the different industries have improved or disimproved over time. So the black line, continuing with the same legend, is the home insurance industry, and the green line is the motor insurance industry. So the first thing that this is telling me is that, okay, the home insurance industry, from a percentage difference point of view, has actually across the board increased. So the home insurance industry is improving across the board from the previous study to this study. And the area in which the home insurance industry has increased the most is in the area of evaluating options. However, the scores would tell us from the most recent study that evaluating options is still the area where the greatest amount of pain exists for customers when it comes to trying to complete the pathway to purchase online on the website. And then when it comes to the actual motor insurance industry, we can see that it's dipping in terms of facilitating decisions, and this really is a key pain area for the motor insurance industry, because obviously there may be something that they might be able to learn from the home insurance industry. Mind you, the home insurance industry scores are actually quite low as well. So there's two key areas that I want to focus on. We don't have time to go through absolutely everything in this session this morning. So there's two key areas I want to focus on, look at some examples, look at what might be driving the scores, and then have some recommendations at the very end with regards to improving in these particular areas. The first one is obviously the evaluating options for the reasons that I just explained, and then we're also going to be looking at the facilitating decisions. The key thing that I'd like to look at is what can the home insurance learn from the motor insurance industry, and what can the motor insurance industry learn from the home insurance industry, by specifically looking at those brands that are the top performers within each of these industries and what they're doing right. Okay, so straight into the motor insurance industry. Looking at the scores from March 2015. We have two lines here, the line chart. We're staying with the same axis along the bottom. We're still looking at stages, and what we're looking at is the top performers and the bottom performers in the motor insurance digital sales effectiveness program from March 2015. So who are the top performers? We can see Churchill, initial engagements, Aviva coming in introducing options, Aviva at evaluating options, Admiral coming in at facilitating decisions, Quote Me Happy channel selection, and then Swiftcover coming in for application form. How about the bottom performers? Swiftcover for initial engagement, Admiral coming in introducing options, Churchill, Quote Me Happy, Axif taking up the end of the line here for both channel selection and application form. So a key message is that there is no one provider that is providing the optimal experience across the board, and those that are sometimes providing the optimal experience and, say for example, facilitating decisions for Admiral are underperforming or are the bottom performer in terms of introducing options. So everybody can learn something is the key message, and everybody can improve. So we said that we were interested in this area of evaluating options. So drilling down a little bit further, I would like to look into what is that it actually creates evaluating options as a metric, and I would like to see what it is that Aviva are doing which drives them to be the highest performer in this particular area. Now again, 49% isn't actually a brilliant score. We would say in general that if a brand is providing 55% or lower, then that is an industry pain for the customer, and that really it should be on average higher than 55% across all of our studies, which is in 21 different industries around the globe. It's above 55% is where you're really delivering and matching customer needs. Okay, so straight into evaluating options. What is evaluating options all about? Does the customer have the ability to compare your product or service options to best meet their needs? What tools are available on your website which assist customers in their decision making? What facilities does your site provide for customers to match your product or service to their specific needs and requirements? And then with all of these steps, within this particular step, how do we facilitate the customer considering the actual stage they are at in the pathway to purchase? Looking at the brands within this particular stage and how the different brands are performing, we've seen already that Aviva is coming out on the top. We can see the Churchill's coming in on the bottom there in terms of 24%. And looking at the percentage difference over time from a previous wave to this wave, we can see Aviva's increased by a percentage difference of 4.2, while First Central has decreased significantly, minus 21.3. Now, there are some brands that I haven't included here. I've just pulled out some of the key brands because there are an awful lot of brands within the study. Okay, so that's who the top performers, bottom performers are, giving you an example of some of the brands, and we've also talked about what makes up evaluating options. We talked about the concept of categories within stages. So the categories within evaluating options are matching product to needs and comparing product options. And so I've given you straight away some results. The orange or lighter color circle is Aviva, the blue circle is Churchill, and then we have the industry average at 30 is in black. So looking at matching product needs, we can see that actually Churchill and Aviva are very, very close together in terms of how they're scoring, and they're also very, very close to the industry. So let's have a look at the subcategory that makes up matching product to needs. So we're drilling down. All the time I'm drilling down. Now I'm at the subcategory level, and this is the 4 different data streams that come into the Digital Sales Effectiveness program are now being represented on screen in front of us. We can see effectiveness of matching needs is really how successful customers or in-market consumers, when they were completing tasks on the individual brand websites, how successful they were and how effective they were in terms of trying to complete the task. As a consumer moves through the actual program here, we would have maybe 4 to 5 and in some cases 6 different tasks that consumers have to complete as they're going through the website. So efficiency of matching tasks really starts to come down to the time, how long it took them to actually complete it. Satisfaction is they tell us how satisfied, how easy it was for them to complete it, and then evaluation of matching needs as well comes out of that. So some of this comes out of the customer audit, some of this comes out of the actual task that they had to complete, and then we have the best practice audit as well, where we're looking at the matching needs, the content, and then the bundling of products. So the industry is actually quite close together, and certainly Aviva and Churchill are quite close together in terms of matching products to needs. But I'd like to look at, from a website point of view, some examples of what actually drives these scores. So the task for this particular area of the program was to find a cover option which provides 24-hour accident recovery and covers your medical expenses following accidents. This is the Churchill website from the task. On screen in front of you, you can actually see some of the heat mapping with regards to as people were trying to complete the task on the website. Straight away you can see that the cover options has a greater area highlighted in terms of heat mapping, and then we're up around the top left-hand corner in terms of navigation, which is what we would expect. The success rate for those who are completing the task on this website, 52% for Churchill in comparison to 57% for Aviva. The number of unique page views, we have 4 for Churchill in terms of 3 for Aviva, and we also have times to completion as well, but I haven't included in this particular one. What's interesting then is we can see and we can ask everybody who completed the task, how did you get on? Did you have problems? What were the problems that you might have had? So we can see 43% are saying that they didn't encounter any problems when they were trying to complete the task on the Churchill website, which means 57% did. And the type of problems that they were having was that they were finding where to start looking was not easy, it took a long time to find the information, and then we have the verbatim element as well. So while usability testing would typically have a sample size of in and around maybe 10 to 15, we go up to a sample size of 50, and the reason why we do that is because it increases the opportunity for voice of the customer. So I'm going to look at some voice of the customer in terms of Churchill in a moment, but I want to take you through the navigational process and some of the challenges that people may have had or people did have as they were trying to complete this task. At the moment, when you click on the menu functionality at the top on the left in terms of our products with Churchill, the status change doesn't indicate that it actually has changed, anything has changed on the website. So from a navigational point of view, there are elements there which aren't clear from a signposting point of view and a status change that I've actually moved somewhere else on the website. So what that means then is that I as a person would then scroll down to see if there's another navigational opportunity here, and I can see that I can find out more about the products here. So I click on car here because I want to go into car insurance. But what happens though is that the page that loads for car insurance is incredibly similar to the page that I was on previously. One of the key differences you can see here is that the little button which shows me the number of images that are going to scroll on this page when I move to car insurance is 2, whereas on the previous page it's 4. Very subtle, very small difference, and the image is very much the same. We have a slightly different heading there on the top left-hand corner in terms of car insurance that tells me I'm on the car insurance page, but overall the look and feel is dramatically the same, and so I don't have that status change or that confirmation that I'm really now in a different place and okay, I'm ready to start looking. So some of the other elements that are driving some of the challenges here, we've talked about this data change, the concept of feed forwarding and signposting being very important. The consumers want to know that they have achieved something different by clicking on something on a website, and that's why the navigation must be different. So what happens, and what happened in this case, is that customers, in a lot of cases, didn't realize that they had moved one step forward or weren't sure how to go about getting the information in terms of the task, and they ended up going back to the original website in order to try and complete the task. So this is the click stream from the actual task that they were trying to complete, and what essentially is happening here is that it's actually circular. So people keep going back to the main homepage in order to try and complete the task because the car insurance page themselves seemed to be confusing them. And some of the voice of the customer that was coming out, I could not find the requested information, took a long time to find, very jumpy, hard to hold and track through one page at a time, could not find it. I was looking for breakdown cover, not sure if I found the right one. So they are examples from the first subcategory, and now I'd like to look at the second subcategory, which is the comparing product options. Now, there is no score here on screen in terms of, sorry, that blue should be Aviva. The 61% at the top is Aviva, and we have a score industry average 43%, and we have no score for Churchill. And if I pull up the subcategory from this, we can see the three subcategory elements: evaluation of comparison, ease of comparison, and interactive comparison functions, that Churchill don't actually have a score there represented, which is the reason why Churchill are scoring so poorly within the evaluating options section. So why is comparison important in an industry where we know in the UK aggregators are incredibly important? I've taken some data from the Digital Marketing Effectiveness program that was completed in March 2015 in motor insurance. So this is a different program. I'm not going to go into the methodology, but it's quantitative, where we send people to we ask them to complete a task to find a motor insurance provider online, and we track everything that they do. One of the key elements as they move through the process is we say, okay, who would, now having completed this task of trying to find somebody, who would shortlist? And then we say, okay, from those that you've shortlisted, who would be the one final provider that you would prefer? So ultimately, who would you choose if you were making a purchase? One of the things that I did was I looked at the results of those who had visited a brand website and what were their final preference figures, and I compared them against the general, what were the final preference figures. So to give you an example, for all of the sample of, in this particular month, we had 200 in-market people, we have 8% of the 200 people said that they would choose Direct Line. Of those who visited the Direct Line website, that number increases. 21% said that they would prefer the Direct Line website. Similarly, Aviva, the numbers jump from 8% to 28%. Churchill, 5% to 17%. The message that I'm trying to convey here is that if a customer visits your website, the likelihood that they will choose you as their final preference increases dramatically. So while we understand and we know that aggregators are massively important in this market, it's not enough for us to say that we are not going to meet the customer's needs when it comes to things like product comparison on the website. We need to be facilitating their needs. And if we don't, they'll leave. So what is it that Aviva are doing in terms of comparison that really are driving scores? First of all, there's one click from the homepage that leads directly to the comparison options. It's straight in front of me. You've got the heat map in front of you, so you can see how different people are moving through the site. You can view and compare all covers in a single location. The comparison table displays the available options, key information on why customers should choose Aviva, testimonials, visually appealing, easily understood, and a rating scale. So our overall rating and an explanation of how they create that rating scale. And then also there's an award at the bottom, which is provided by a third-party provider. The comparison table displays definitions of industry-specific jargon and links to a glossary. There's a link to begin the quote process, and it's possible to hide and show different covers which are easily viewed side by side without scrolling. Churchill do not provide this facility, and this is the reason why Churchill did not score in this area within the evaluating options, and ultimately which drove their score down. How does Aviva score then in terms of the customer audit when it comes to this task within the actual Digital Sales Effectiveness program, and we can see that Aviva is scoring very, very well, displays all the information I expect to see, the page is uncluttered, the page makes it easy to understand the information that is presented. If you remember, the evaluating options score overall, though, wasn't very, very high. So our message here is that this is a basic, this is what customers are looking for. This is a basic meeting their needs. And so while Aviva is scoring well, Aviva are providing the base level in terms of what is expected from a customer point of view. To give you an example from a completely different industry, this is from Origin, from Australia, in terms of energy, and we can see how they provide key features side by side for easy comparison. There are many different examples from many different industries from around the world. I just wanted to pull out one. Okay, now, I know that we're coming on top of the very, very end of the session. I have just a couple of slides left, and I'm going to fly through these, and then I'll take any questions. Facilitating decisions. Top performers. Tesco, Aviva, Nationwide, LV, Barclays, and Aviva. Bottom performers. Barclays, Halifax, More Than, and then Direct Line. So we were talking about facilitating decisions. What is it that LV are doing that they're scoring highest in terms of facilitating decisions, and what is it that Tesco are not doing? Key thing that we're looking for here is it easy for customers to get answers to questions with tools such as online chat? We're really talking about customer service here, and we're talking about the ability to get immediate answers. In terms of lots of different brands within the study, this is the hierarchy of how it plays out. And then in the percentage difference, we can see that Direct Line have increased dramatically, Halifax have increased, and More Than have increased. Aviva, really the only one here to decrease. So, there are three different subcategories: external comparison, contacting the company. Why choose this company? I'm only going to focus on contacting the company because I think it's a really important one, and it's also at a base level from terms of expectations. We can see then enabling general questions is one of the subcategories, and enabling immediate answers is the other subcategory within this. A lot of brands are not scoring in terms of enabling immediate answers, and then enabling general questions is really the area that I'm going to focus on. So we can see top performer for contacting the company, LV at 77%, Tesco at 12%. What is it that's driving these scores? So LV, the product detail page is a clearly zoned area to contact the company with further questions. There is a section labeled Got a Question, there's a heading Got a Question, and it's above the fold. There's a phone number with the company details displayed on the product detail page. The phone number includes hours of contact on the product detail page. A lot of brands don't do this. It's very simple, but the idea being that the customer understands when they can actually call is very, very helpful rather than ringing and getting an answering machine. The site provides a call me back facility. The call me back form allows customers to elect to receive a call back at a later time, and then also the site provides an online chat facility. So, going back to these switchers, going back to people who are in market, have a product already and are looking to switch. We ask, what is it? What would you do if you encountered a problem? And these are the answers that they gave us. I've compared them against the total sample. I would look for frequently asked questions and the help on the website. I would look for an online web chat feature. I would leave the website and look for another provider. I would look for a contact us form. I would look for a telephone number. So this is specifically then within the home insurance market, and the message that's coming out here is that switchers are more likely to look for customer service, or certainly have a higher expectation than the total sample. So are you there in terms of providing this level of customer service? Because this is the type of thing that they expect. Giving you examples from other industries, Paddy Power and Coral have contact pages which offer typical response times. AIB and HSBC in the banking industry keep contact details to hand. And then LV provide an integrated glossary at the bottom of the page where you can tick a box, and basically then this gives us the different types of jargon broken down and made a little bit more user-friendly in terms of trying to understand the process as they're going through it. So just giving you different types of examples in terms of customer service, supporting the customer as they're actually trying to make decisions. I've come to the end. I've got three key recommendations in terms of home and motor insurance. The first one is signposting, navigation, accent status, and feed forward. Very important. We looked at the Churchill example and customers going around in circles. Consider the role of internal product comparison. So the idea being that we looked at Aviva, who does provide product comparison, against some brands who don't provide product comparison, and the difference that actually has in terms of satisfaction scores for customers when conducting tasks on the website. Those you are most interested in, in this case I pulled out switchers in market, are most interested in receiving customer support. So are you well equipped when it comes to providing those different elements? There's probably one key thing. I'd just like to fly back to that slide again. There's one key thing on this slide which is really, really interesting, is the number of people who would leave a website and look for another provider within this industry for total sample is 19%, which is, I suppose, in other industries we've seen 25% and some industries down as low as 12%. So it really is in the middle. But that is a key figure in terms of abandonment rate and stuff like that, and customer service, and providing easy access to customer service and general answers to questions is very, very important. So thank you very much for coming along this morning. What I've covered this morning is really just a very, very high level overall industry view for both home and motor insurance. We have lots of stuff that we offer within this program that I haven't talked about. Obviously there's the level of the data itself, but then we also go into microanalysis, and you can both get access to the data through the portal, but we work through workshops with our clients, and we look through the different industry pains and we match them to where the client is, and we work with the client in terms of meeting their commercial objectives. So insight optimization workshops, access to portal, and then we also have additional advisory hours where our team in the client advisory role would typically look at wireframes as websites are being developed and make recommendations with regards to improvement before websites are even released. So if you'd like to talk to us about the program in terms of 2015 for either home or motor insurance, please do get in touch. So I'm going to just take 2 seconds to see if there's any questions, and I really won't be very long if you'd like to hang on, and then I'll come back and answer any questions, and then we'll wrap up. So if you can bear with me for just 2 seconds. Hi guys, just 2 quick questions there. One of them was of the different industries that we are currently operating in. I mentioned banking already. We've looked at that. We also work in insurance. We also work in energy. We work in sports betting. We work in telecommunications. We work in many, many different industries. And we also provide bespoke programs as well. So, for example, some of our clients may want to look at specifically the login feature when it comes to websites. And so what we would do is we would benchmark best practice within that particular industry for, say, the login process, but we would also take that outside that industry to look at other industries in terms of best practice. So bespoke is something that we do, and we look at very specific things in terms of the journey. Another key question then was just with regards to who were the leaders in the different industries in terms of a digital experience, and certainly the digital sales effectiveness programs. And so typically we find that the sports betting industries are well ahead, not very well ahead, but I mean they are performing very well in terms of delivering customer experience, and I suppose their business models they're very much focused in that direction, and that is reflective in their scores. And then a final question was just to talk a little bit more about the in-market consumer. So we work with panel. We have a panel partner worldwide, one of the largest panels in the world. So we recruit in line with ESMAR best market research best standards, and consumers are screened on the basis of purchasing a product within the next 90 days in that specific industry. And so in-market really is, it's a subsection. If you imagine an omnibus survey, it really only represents somewhere in and around 10 to 20% of what would be an omnibus survey, because these people are classified as actively looking for a product within that industry. So that's all of the questions. Thank you very much for coming along. If you have any questions or you'd like to get in touch, you have contact details to get in touch with us. But thank you very much again.